Hello and welcome to the fifth installment of Game Token Watch with me, John Jordan. This is where I take a look back over the previous month at my portfolio of game tokens. Reminder, this is not investment advice. This is a kind of experimental, intellectual experiment that I am kind of carrying out, just looking at cryptocurrencies as it involves the games industry, the blockchain games industry. So pretty niche, something I'm personally interested in. So I've been running this portfolio now. Pretty small portfolio still, despite what we will come to a good month, still under $500. So do not be investing money in this. If it all went to zero, I would still be quite happy. I'm enjoying the intellectual kind of curiosity that comes with this thing, so just bear that in mind. But this is where we are. So I spent a bit of time reworking my pie charts so the colors match, which they haven't done in the past. But this is the breakdown. So I'll kind of go back and look at previous months and see what's changed. I've not put any extra money into the portfolio, but as you'll see, there's been quite a big change in terms of the value of the tokens. But the split that we have is the biggest element is Mana, which is the token ERC20 token of Decentraland, and then second biggest, broadly similar, is Enjin coin, the token of the Enjin platform. Next to that, again broadly similar, slightly less, is Loom, which is the token of the Loom network, which is a sidechain currently working on Ethereum, but also moving to Tron and EOS. So that's pretty much those three take up not quite 2/3, but getting on for that. Then also some Wax, which is the ERC20 token of what will eventually be a EOS based blockchain marketplace for games tokens. And then the final few still have some Theta, which is a decentralized video peer-to-peer streaming system, and Reality Clash, and then two others in others. So that's the percentage split. We can have a quick look and see how that's changed if I can fiddle around with my graphics. So how were we in February? Again, kind of broadly similar. Enjin was slightly bigger then than Mana from Decentraland. The big change, I guess, from February to March is I had a chunk of a stable coin, a USDC Circle, which is a stable coin promoted by Coinbase. So I did add some money into the portfolio in February, but held it in a stable coin, and now that's been kind of spent effectively. But I've not bought anything that I didn't have before, and very quickly we can go back and have a look. This is February. What was January? Again, you're seeing a broad trend. Not much has changed in 2019, and even back to December, we had something very, very similar, although the USD value of the portfolio was smaller then. So let's go back to where we are. So what have I done in terms of allocation, in terms of spending that USDC? So I've actually bought more Mana. I've actually sold Enjin coin, and bought some more Loom as well. So not done anything with Wax or Theta or Reality Clash. So let's have a quick explanation of my thoughts at this point. Should point out I'm doing this video actually a week into April, so there's been quite a lot of activity in the crypto markets in the first week of April. There's been quite a big uplift. There's been quite a reasonable uplift during March as well, but April saw kind of a kind of structural lift across pretty much everything. But certainly Bitcoin's now well over $5,000. And Ethereum up to kind of $170 as well. So what am I thinking? What's my thinking about these projects at the moment? Because the whole point of this kind of experiment, in an intellectual sense, is to try and see if the actual activity in these projects is actually reflected in the token value. In most cases, certainly up to this point, or certainly up to February, my argument was that actually the value of these tokens at this point was pretty much 100% speculative. Now, it may have been speculative based on the assumption that some of these things were going to come to some sort of fruition, have some sort of utility, but that wasn't really the case at that point. And to be fair, we're still probably at that stage, but we're starting to see some products being based on these tokens. So Decentraland is still a bit of a way off. We're kind of expecting a Q2 launch or a Q2, some sort of access in Q2 2019. So Decentraland is getting closer. The reason I actually bought some more was I'm using or I'm experimenting with a new product called Uniswap, which is a kind of it's a decentralized marketplace where you can buy and sell ERC20 tokens, but you can also add liquidity to the market, so you can actually kind of become you actually provide the tokens in the market. So I bought some more Decentraland for that reason. Not just that reason, I do quite like just Decentraland, and be interesting to see when the thing actually comes out, because people have been waiting around for getting on for a year and a half now. So that's why particularly I was interested in getting more Decentraland. So Enjin coin, I'll go into more detail. I've done a previous video about this. So Enjin coin had a big pop in March. That was because it's now being supported in the new Samsung S10 phones. That family of phones will now ship. Those phones have a heavy specific kind of cryptocurrency wallet system in them, and as part of that, Enjin coin wallet will be part of that. And that's caused a lot of kind of speculative bubble around Enjin coin. So depending on how you measure it, Enjin coin is up over 500% from its kind of low point in January. So check out the other video if you're interested in Enjin coin. So actually I sold out a bunch, pretty much over half of my Enjin coin, as it increased in value during March. Loom, so Loom is a sidechain for Ethereum at the moment, and they they've bought on their staking. So they're a proof of stake, delegated proof of stake blockchain, and as with EOS and Tron and all those other blockchains, what you do, or what you can do when you have these tokens, is you can stake them into the system, which is kind of providing the security model and providing a idea of consensus and governance in the long term. But in basic terms, in kind of financial terms, if you stake your tokens into a staking pool, you then get some tokens back as part of as an incentive to become part of that, effectively like a interest rate, I guess you would think of it, in a bank account. So those three tokens, actually there's quite a lot going on with those, which is why I have been active in kind of increasing stakes in some and selling in others. All the other tokens, particularly Wax, we're still kind of waiting with Wax. We're expecting a kind of a Q2 kind of announcement that Wax is moving what is at the moment an ERC20 token. So they did an ICO on Ethereum, but they've always been very upfront that they're going to be a EOS project. So at some point they're going to have to launch their EOS blockchain, mainnet, and they are then going to have to transfer your ERC20 tokens to the native token of the Wax blockchain. So that could be actually quite an interesting opportunity for kind of speculation. Equally, it could be an opportunity where things go horribly wrong. So a high level of volatility expected with Wax. So I'm not necessarily selling my Wax off now, but kind of keeping an eye on that, but not necessarily buying anymore. So that's kind of where we go in terms of kind of allocation. And now let's have a quick look at probably the thing everyone cares about, which is performance. Okay, so let's start in reverse order. Remind ourselves where we've been. So this is from December. So the big thing to remember, I guess people do remember if you're involved in the cryptocurrency markets, in November we had this big kind of sell-off. So actually until mid-November things were going quite well. It was kind of picking up. There was a bit of momentum, and then we had this kind of massive kind of sell-off in mid-November. So December was a continuation of that. So from this portfolio down 23%. January, not a lot happening really, a bit up and down. February. So February started to see the first, I guess, signs of term we like to use momentum. So we can kind of see by the time we got to the end of February, the portfolio was down in terms of all time, but in terms of like you had this big kind of peak in terms of 1 week up 14%, and actually looking back at where the peak had been in mid-November, it was up again. So obviously the thing to remember in this portfolio is really from the time I've started off, it's not really changed, or the kind of allocation of tokens has changed, but I've not bought in any new tokens, so it's just kind of been an issue of buying or selling the tokens I already have. So I've not really gone out and looked for other tokens. But let's see where we are in March, which is the thing we all care about because we're looking at March now. So there we go. So this is kind of quite staggering. Nice to see balance change up 160%. Aren't I a genius? No, not of course. It's interesting, I think, always to put things in perspective. So we can see here, go back to look at February. We can see this peak. It looked like it was continuing. It was heading upwards, and often with these things, it's kind of how much they can head upwards, and it went a lot up, and then it continued to go up. There has been a bit of a sell-off in the last the tail end of the last week. And I should kind of point out, this is not the intellectual curiosity of me is also quite skeptical about these things. So I don't think I'm some sort of investment genius. If I were, I wouldn't be doing these kind of videos. I'd be an investment genius in some big hedge fund somewhere. But generally, the entire market is up quite heavily, and a lot. When I was I've kind of been buying these tokens over a period of time. So I've not been buying it at the top of the market. I've been buying a certain number at the bottom of the market at least. So it looks better than it is. I think in general, what's interesting is we are coming to some, or the market seems to be coming to some sort of conclusion that games actually will have an interesting role to play in the adoption of blockchain technology in 2019. So I do think from that point of view, having a portfolio that's just focused on game tokens it has a lot more upside, I think. I suppose that that's the thing. Obviously, anyone can invest in Bitcoin, and there's no problem for me investing in Bitcoin. But what's interesting is, obviously, with Bitcoin now, it went down to under $3,000, and now is over, or it is $5,000, and has obviously had a peak of up to $20,000. But we kind of see the trajectory of where Bitcoin can be, and obviously it's a very heavily traded and as much as we understand any of these things, understood token. With some of these other projects that aren't even live yet, there's obviously much more upside, and the downside, okay, it could all go to zero. That's the risk that we take in all these things. But it is nice after 5 months to kind of see this kind of performance. As I say, I don't think I am some sort of genius in doing this, but I think the portfolio allocation, which let's just remind ourselves, is at the moment Decentraland's Mana token, Enjin coin, and Loom as the top three, and also some historic wax as well. I think it's broadly well placed. Actually, Theta, should point out, Theta is the pink segment there. Theta's actually done very well. I've not bought any more of that. It's not. You could argue whether it should be in this kind of portfolio. It's not a kind of true gaming token in the sense that these other ones are. It's more about video delivery, which is kind of focused on games in one of its first use cases. But I think there are other game tokens that I could have chosen that have not done as well as these ones. So I guess I gained some enjoyment from that choice. But anyway, let's not get carried away. Next month could all bring it crashing down to earth. Of course, that is the way of cryptocurrencies, isn't it? So anyway. If you enjoy my ramblings, please do subscribe to the channel, and at the end of April I will come back and see if we have sustained our performance, or whether it's kind of gone back to as we saw in November. In November, at the start of November, everything was fine and rosy and doing well, and then at the end of November things had changed. So that may well be the case. But if you have any comments, obviously stick them in the comments box. But thanks for watching the video, and come back next month to see what's going on then.